Right, you are.
Are we on live?
Yeah, we are. We
Oh,
are
I told
live.
you to
Yeah,
start
they're
the show.
commenting about how late you are. Did you? Oh,
Oh,
well, I
okay.
was
Yeah.
I was busy going through the articles. All right. Well, welcome everybody.
Yeah.
This is Talking Niagara. Dave, you got stuck at the top of the Ferris wheel. Well, we'll be talking about the Ferris wheel.
Well,
Latest information.
I told Peter to start the show that I'd be 3 or 4 minutes late, but
Yeah, and I didn't look at the comment. Yeah.
anyway,
Well, I was
time I
actually
was
going through. I was going through a couple of articles. You see, that was what was going on. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So one of the things we start talking about yesterday is primary election wins prove that pro-Palestinian U.S. protests didn't fail, right? And in fact, some of the protesters and some pro-Palestinian people within the Democrat Party actually have gained seats at the expense of Israel lobby supported people.
I'm not so sure it's. Oh, you mean AIPAC in that? Well, yeah. There's a real shift in. They say it's Palestine centric or Palestine supporting. I don't think that's really as well explained as it should be. It means that people are for the rights of the Palestinian people. We know that they have been an occupied people for 50 some years, 60 some years. And there are refugee camps. 70% of the people who live in Gaza, the 2.2 million people that live in Gaza, 70% of them are from refugees that get forced out of what is now Israel when the Zionists started there. We do know that an enormous amount of the population of Jordan are Palestinians that got forced off their land and chased away. Lebanon has Palestinian camps. Syria has Palestinians. Egypt has Palestinians. That's why you'll never find them taking any more Palestinians every time there's a war. What Israel wants to do is have war and say, well, how come you're not going to take any of these refugees? Because they want them out of the way and never let them back in. You know what I mean? As you see like Fox News going on, oh, the Arab nations have never taken the refugees from Gaza. Well, everyone knows once the refugees leave Gaza, if they're pushed out by Israel into any country that would take them, they would never be allowed to come back.
Yeah.
And a lot of the Gazans don't want them to leave either because they know that they'll never have a home again. They'll just be pushed out somewhere else. Yeah. So
they'll be in a refugee camp in Syria or Guatemala or something like that, right?
Yeah, they'll
just to being
probably in southern Sudan or something. Who knows? But and so that's all part of the games they play there. Yeah. Now, what we find here is it's not exactly pro-Palestinian, anti-Israeli. It's pro-Palestinian in the fact that these people require a land of their own and the rights and all that. And a lot of that came out of the Columbian University. And like I said before the other day, a lot of those groups were Jewish groups. And it's never really brought up in legacy media because they're pretty much controlled by AIPAC as well. You know, they have to be very careful of what they say, or they're going to get a lot of political complaints from AIPAC and the Israeli lobby. So they have to be very careful as well. It's amazing to me how much the U.S. government and U.S. press is afraid of AIPAC and the Israeli lobby because they can do some real damage to you. Anyway, the fact of the matter is, though, there are these so-called pro-Palestinian. They're not exactly anti-Israeli, but they are definitely pro-Palestinian. But that's not all they are. They're mostly the social democrats that they're talking about. That everybody, the evil godless communists, or should I say, the evil godless communists, who are bent on ruining the United States, that is their purpose in life, to ruin the lives of everyone.
Well,
that's what godless communists do.
Daria Lisa Avila Chevalier, who was an activist in the pro-Palestinian protests at Columbia University, has won the Democratic congressional primary against a 5-term incumbent. Right, so this is one of the things they're talking about, and also, of course, we know that last year Zohran Mamdani was elected mayor of New York City, and in part thanks to pro-Palestinian activists who powered his campaign.
Yes, and remember, Zohran Mamdani won in a city that's 20% Jewish and have a very powerful Jewish presence, and not only the 20% Jewish, but also like Jewish supporters, Israeli supporters, and among the rest of the electorate.
Yeah.
So there's and he is a Muslim, AKA communist Muslim.
Yeah, but you see, that is, I always find it funny. If you're going to be accurate about things, use the term correctly.
Stupid.
Yeah,
they are so stupid
correctly,
down there.
Right? If you want to accuse somebody of being a communist, make sure they are a damn communist. You know what I mean? I mean, accusing Dave here of being a communist might be fair.
Yeah, it says here, but it says actually a string of electoral wins by critics of Israeli abuses appears to indicate activism success and can only measure in the long term. In New York, Dariela is Avila Chevalier, we said the activist who participated in pro-Palestinian protests in Columbia, won the Democratic congressional primary against 5-time incumbent, like you said, and it's just to satisfy, But this is a trend, and if you notice, there's a trend on both sides, though. Like, of course, there's a trend among the Democrats to call what's happening in MAGA fascism. Now, Trump has recreated the 1950s monster. I was a teenage communist guy. Remember? I don't know if you remember those movies, but I remember them, and I
don't remember them. I don't think we saw that. We didn't see them. They had a little interest in because we had a different view in Europe. They were hardly ever seen because we had a different view about some of that sort of stuff, right?
Well, I had a more mature view, but they made it's supposed to be freedom of speech in the United States, and they made the Communist Party illegal. Tell me how free that speech is. Yeah. Why are they so afraid of communists?
And the whole point is that in our society we could have a communist government, right? Whether you like it or not, we could have a communist government tomorrow, and then the government directly after it would be conservative or something like that. That's the way our society would be, because we could change those things, have those.
Yeah, you still exercise. What the thing is, you had a communist party within a democracy.
Yes,
right?
Exactly. They would operate within the scope, within they could put their policies in place within a democratic society. Then of course, later on, you have a conservative government that puts its policies in place within the scope of a democratic society. So
yes, well, we found the big like when Britain went too far left, and the economy was stifled by programs, leftist type programs. Along comes Maggie Thatcher, and she turns everything back towards capitalist type of
precisely
approach.
Yeah,
and
because the checks and balances within the system, right?
Yeah. So anyway, so in the States they revived the I'm a teenage communist, that kind of thing. The specter of the evil, godless communist. Oh my, they're going to destroy America. Oh my, we have to but they've got nothing else. And it's pretty much like they needed a bad guy, because good guy, bad guy politics work in the States. It's all good guy, bad guy stuff. They're the bad guy, we're the good guy. Nothing in between. Even the press takes a side, a good guy, bad guy side. And that kind of works for them down there, because they can't, I remember having comments on these threads, Facebook threads, and I make a comment and everybody says, "Oh, you're a CNN guy." And I say, "I'm not a CNN guy. You got to be a CNN guy, because you didn't agree with this. This is a Fox thing, right?" I says, "I don't like Fox or CNN or any of them. They just couldn't understand that. They couldn't get around them. You had to be one or you had to be the other." Yeah. And I remember right through these threads and people said, "You are absolutely a CNN person. You're lying." And I said, "No, I don't like CNN. It's my own opinion, right? Not CNN's opinion, not Fox's opinion." And I put that on there because Fox and CNN are rubbish. Don't listen to their political points of view. Anyway, you can't, but that's what they're like down there. It's good guy, bad guy stuff, right or left. And the problem here is,
well, I've been having some discussions on Facebook with some Americans, and they're taking much the same line as you and I take on this.
Yeah, there are intelligent people down there. I didn't say that. I mean, I'm just saying the majority of the Fox followers are brain dead, and most of the CNN followers are brain dead too.
Yeah, and that's a problem.
Look, that's really not a fair comment, but because that's all they got, and you got to look outside your own country for views outside your own country, and that goes for this country too.
And the whole point, of course, is that witnessing horrific atrocities in Gaza moves people, even in the US, and moves people in Canada, and just because you're commenting upon the atrocities in Gaza doesn't mean to say that you're anti-Jewish. It just means to say that you're anti Netanyahu and what his goons are doing.
Well, the approach up until now is to be very. You're going to get somebody call you an anti-Semite if you're an anti-Zionist, or you complain about what the IDF is doing. That's not working right now, but it did work for the very longest time. Because the two things you didn't want to be called was a pedophile or an anti-Semite. Those were death sentences to you and if you were a politician or something like that, and you didn't want to be slurred with those kind of things. I don't know. I heard like Gwen Dyer once was accused of being an anti-Semite in the Hamilton paper, in the comments in the Hamilton paper. I replied back to that saying there's no way he was just talking the truth about what was happening in Israel at the time. And they'll allow it, but go ahead.
Okay, why are we on YouTube why not on YouTube but on Facebook? According to my dashboard, Mike, we're live on YouTube. Yeah, no, we're live on YouTube, according to this. Right, so I don't know. Okay. Why is the show playing on Facebook but not on YouTube? Well, I think it is. In fact, actually, Betty is coming through on YouTube. Hey, you're coming through on YouTube, Mike. That triangle is showing me YouTube. Okay, I don't know what's going on there. It says my computer. Sorry, fixed it. Okay, there we go. There we go. I knew it wasn't me.
Right. Hi, Betty.
Hello,
Gold Mabel.
Yeah, well, I was going to come to that at some point. US got eliminated by Belgium yesterday.
It would have been horrific if they'd won.
Yeah, I think it would have been
terrible if they won. It's a good thing they lost.
Yeah.
Not because I got anything against the American team, but because of the politics involved.
Well, the politics involved is we'll come to that later on. Balogun sending off was, essentially, honestly, the sending off against the Qatari for what he did with the Canadian and the broken leg, that was absolutely justified. This in any other day.
Look, if you're going to talk about it later then.
Yeah. Anyway, that's another. Sorry, Taylor Swift is getting a divorce.
Going to divorce Travis Kelce after 1 year of marriage and wedding gala in Madison Square Garden. Yeah, there's some absolutely drippingly over the top wedding stuff going on.
I don't care about those people, but still.
No, I heard about it on the news too, and I know the name Taylor Swift, of course, and I know she's got this football. I can never remember his name, but I remember the football player boyfriend. And they've got some over the top, big old grand, dripping with, wealth sort of, I don't know, glorious, gaudy wedding kind of thing going on. I guess they feel that they have to do it because she's a star. She's a kind of a big entertainment, a big pop star. So I think probably the fans would be disappointed if it wasn't a big, gaudy, gory, gold-lusted type of wedding kind of thing, But I mean, it doesn't appeal to me. But I guess it would appeal to their fans, so maybe that's why they're doing it. I can't see the football player ever thinking, oh man, this is the last place I want to be. All these people gawking at me, and I got a gold threaded tuxedo or some damn thing like that on. But I guess it's all part of, nurturing the star power.
I really don't give a shit about those sort of people. Pardon my French.
Yeah, I know, but either do I. But
they have no relevance.
Most of the world does.
They have zero relevance when it comes to what's going on in the world. They may, a lot of the world may go doolally over them, but there's no point in going doolally over them. They have no real impact on the world.
Well, we've been talking about communism, and Marx said there's all these distractions that
exactly
that come up to keep people's mind away from what's really going on.
And Ricky nailed it. Who are those people? Let's get back to the Ferris wheel.
Yeah, let's get back to the important stuff.
Yeah. Okay. So let's do precisely that. Right. Let's get to the Ferris wheel, since we were going to go there anyway next. HOCO and the Ferris wheel controversy. Basically, HOCO, who own the current Ferris wheel on there, they said, okay, enough of this. We're going to build a bigger Ferris wheel. We're going to build the biggest Ferris wheel in Canada, and it's going to be right where the current Ferris wheel is.
Well, who could not have guessed that was going to happen? Really? Number one, there's going to be two reactions to this. Why don't you build it here? Or we're going to sue you for building it right where we've got ours, basically down the street. So you want a really big one when there's a really big one here already. You're going to take money out of our pockets. We are the businesses here. We are the ones that keep Niagara Falls going, and you're going to take our business away from us by building a Ferris wheel right beside our Ferris wheel, which doesn't make any whole sense at all. So option number 2 came along, and it didn't surprise me one bit. As a matter of fact, I kind of expected it, that they would just decide to make it the one on Clifton Hill bigger than it is.
Yeah. And that is basically, so what will happen, of course, is once they actually do the planning, they start the build of it, it will shut down probably for a year, maybe 2.
Oh, there was a big turnout at Club Italia last night. Okay. Great turnout last night at Club Italia against the Ferris wheel. Good. I'm glad to hear it. Yeah. I don't think that Ferris wheel was going to go up anyway. It doesn't matter what the Ford government wanted. I mean, the people of Niagara Falls don't want it. Well, go get stuffed. Dougie, right. Go get stuffed.
Gold Maple says, I love the Ferris wheel. I like buying candy floss and going to the Ferris wheel. I need to get a sub dog from Subway.
Yeah.
Standing room only at Club Italia is what Mike reported. Yeah. Okay, so a roving reporter, Mike. So essentially, it doesn't surprise me in the least that HOCO want to do this, right?
No, it seems to be the natural reaction. HOCO would say, you know, well, the one thing, if the first wheel was approved, like HOCO would be like on them like crazy. Look, what you're doing. We put this here years ago, and the government's going to put one here, right in front of ours, right? Take our money away. What's that all about? So pretty much I knew that, you know, they're either going to sue them or they're going to say, you know, put it here instead.
Right. But Ricky says, well, there goes my hot dog stand, right?
There goes my hot dog stand. Yeah.
And regardless of how I feel about Taylor and Kelsey, at the very least, they do give back. They donated $26 million to various charities around New York.
Well, that's good, and that's what they should do, because they've got more money than God. So, you should. Well, how much of it you're going to spend on yourself anyway? How many cars can you have? How many mansions can you have? How many yachts can you have? You know, you got to be like to me, I'm more like a Buffett kind of guy. Warren Buffett, you know, he stays in the same house he ever had. He's got an old car that he still drives. His enjoyment is playing bridge every Tuesday night or something like that, and then he makes mountains of money.
Yeah. All right. Okay. So I did go over the top on Taylor Swift, but you know, I really don't like a lot of these celebrities butting in on things. Often they don't know what the hell they're talking about.
Well, I can understand this in the way that they're kind of forced into it because of their star-studded status. The expectation from their fans is something over the top, and that's what they're going to get. And to me and you are you know, that doesn't mean anything. I don't think her music's that bad. I've heard a couple of her tunes, and it's okay. Pop music. It's pop music. I mean, it appeals to a certain group of teenage girls, I guess, and that works. And she's a pretty good entertainer. So I mean, she's a pop star.
I don't know.
You know? And she has a certain life. She has a certain life expectancy in the entertainment business, like Madonna or Lady Gaga or any of them. They have a certain
Madonna's still going. Madonna's still going.
Well, but nobody goes to her places in droves like they used to. You see what I mean?
Well, I don't know. I think that
she doesn't sell out cute like Lady Gaga or.
Well, but you see, there are still plenty of older bands that actually sell out a lot more than.
Not like that. Not like that. Nowhere near it. Anyway. Yeah. So Jimmy announced Victoria Park off the table this morning. Well, I'm pretty sure that was a foregone conclusion because of the resistance of the people of Niagara Falls. So thanks very much, all those people that went there the other night.
Well, and taking the profits. Yeah. Well, if they build a new larger sky wheel, that's fair.
Well, look, if HOCO does it, well, sure. But HOCO says it doesn't need any tax dollars to do it and all that. Yeah. I don't know where they're going to get the money. Are they going to need some upfront cash from the province and pay it back?
They'll be able to. They'll probably not. They'll probably be able to bank loans and things like that, and development loans. You know, so
I don't know. It's already a signature. If you go, if you're driving down Portage Road at nighttime, and you get to look over top of the falls, and you look down at all the lights there, and the Ferris wheels already looks like an icon. It's a big wheel, all lit up. It looks pretty. It looks pretty cool. So if they have one even bigger than that, that would look pretty cool, and it wouldn't encroach upon Victoria Park or Queen Victoria Park. And they're very right about that. You don't want to encroach upon Queen Victoria Park. That's what it is. HOCO is filthy rich, Dave. They are huge money. Ever read their interesting story? I think that's probably about the gold prospector Harry Oakes. Basically, he's the one that started the family fortune, and he got shot down in the Bahamas or Jamaica or something like that. And when asked why he was shot, he was just a total arsehole. That's why somebody shot him. I guess he was not too nice of a guy.
Well, anyway, yeah. Okay. All right. So according to the Ferris wheel, basically they don't need public money to build it. They build it on existing site rather than duplicate it. The project would use privately owned land instead of being developed on the park property, and the visitors would still receive enhanced view of the falls without creating two competing observation wheels. Yeah,
which was dumb.
Yeah,
like we want this huge Ferris wheel. Well, they already got the other Ferris wheel. What are you gonna do with that?
Yeah.
And so you know that HOCO would have put up a lot of resistance to a new Ferris wheel, and they've got the money, just as we were told right now, that they have huge money, and they would be able to put a lot of resistance there. And I wouldn't doubt if they contributed to Doug Ford's electoral campaign. So this huge Ferris wheel going where HOCO already has, who could, who has any problem with that? No one has any problem with that. As long as they got the room to do it safely, who cares? But on Queen Victoria Park, are you crazy?
Yeah.
That's dumb, man. You're messing up the park. The whole idea of that park is for everybody to be able to walk around and enjoy, right? We don't
maybe it was Dougie's plan to actually get HOCO to build a new one. Maybe he'd been talking to them about, hey, why don't you increase the size of your Ferris wheel? And they say, yeah, in a few years' time. So he wanted to embarrass them into doing it.
I don't know. If it was a planned thing, I wouldn't doubt it. Dougie would know that the resistance to putting something there would be huge. So I don't know why he even thought of it. But it still leaves us a lot of situation here where we still need, they think anyway, or the province we need more stuff here to bring more tourists. They see the flatlining of tourists coming in, so we don't see more tourists coming into town.
That's why we need, that's why we need to replace Marineland with a park, not housing.
Well, yeah, I think that's a very good idea. I think pretty much you could have a huge amusement park up there, and I think a lot of families would appreciate that, because once they view the falls, the kids are antsy, right? What do they want to do? But I tell you, even just a big splash pad for little kids, they can go all day long in a splash pad or anything like that. They can have as much fun as they possibly could. The idea here, I think she should be making things that draw in families.
And Rick says he likes that, more stuff. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. The more stuff. Exactly that. And that's why the Marineland property needs to be reserved for an amusement park.
Well, I don't know who's thinking what, but like I said, more stuff to bring in more tourists. Now the power plant, I think, is awesome. I went there with I Wilkins News chief reporter Gary Wilkins, and we went there to the power station. But that doesn't make a whole lot of money because the average tourist doesn't expect that to be there. Now, to me, that's like right up there. It's something one of the most fantastic sites in Niagara Falls is that. I also like the forts and the history behind it. But you know, that's because I'm a guy with a big brain and huge education.
But consider this, Dave. You like it. You like it because you've been in industry, right? You're the kind of guy that likes the industrial heritage of this area, and in part because you've worked much of the industrial heritage of this area, and that electric plant is part and parcel of that industrial heritage. Even whether you worked in it or not, it's part of that whole heritage that we've got in industry. That
it was opened in 1903. Do I look that old?
I don't think you do. I think you look a lot younger than that. But no, what I'm saying is,
for sure.
I don't know whether you actually worked at any time in there because you've never talked about ever working there. So, no. You know. But anyway, the whole point being is that it takes a particular type of tourist that goes and watches that kind of stuff.
Well, you know what? But the type of tours, we're not promoting that well enough.
Yeah,
basically, and I think there'll be a lot of people more interested in things like that if they were made aware of it. Niagara Falls is just not a bunch of water going over a falls. It's a huge history thing. The problem is they zero in on the fantastic geological phenomenon of the falls, and you could go in and have a look at them through tunnels or one way or another, this or that. But the fact of the matter is they're not promoting the rest of what makes this. Like if you go down to Gettysburg or something, they have tourists going down to Gettysburg because it was a huge battle. It was the decisive battle of the Civil War. Yeah. You know, but that's all it had. That's all it was there was that battleground. But we have battlegrounds up and down. 60% of the War of 1812 happened on this side of the Niagara River. Yeah. You know, so none of us really promoted that well.
Yeah, we were talking.
If they could make a tourist site out of Gettysburg, they could make a history tourist site on this side.
Yeah, exactly. So we were talking about precisely that with the battleground area. You know, okay, largely the challenge with battleground has been it's not open land. It's largely been built over the years. But again, what's remaining of it, the cemetery, the other area, why can't we have historical tourism that takes that in?
Yeah, so that's part of it, and also we are not exploiting the geology of the area as well. Although there are a lot of visitors down in the gorge and that, we are not exploiting the fact that we are one of the geological wonders of the world. You go down to the bottom of the gorge, that's 450 million years ago. That's the era of the Earth. That's 450 million years ago at the bottom of the gorge. We do not promote the fact that we've had all kinds of fossils and all that kind of thing. Those are the things I hope that we can use. But what does the government think? Oh, how can we promote Niagara Falls? Let's put another big Ferris wheel. We already got one. Let's make another one. That's their idea. Dumb. You know, really, seriously. Hey, HOCO's got a Ferris wheel. Let's put another one up. Dumb.
Dave, there's room for the tourist that comes to see Niagara Falls, and by the way, also goes off to see, to go and play in the amusements. There's also room, in my view, for the tourist who comes to see the industrial heritage of this area. Oh, and by the way, happens to spend an afternoon at the falls while they're doing that. There's also room for the tourist who wants to come and see the historical part of this, the battlegrounds, the history, the why Canada is Canada and not the USA type information. Oh, and by the way, I'll spend an afternoon at the falls. There's room for all of that in our history, in our city. We've just concentrated on one aspect of it.
Yeah, but anyway, to I don't know when you said all those things and proposed all those things, my I can only say that let's go with the Ferris wheel.
I somehow knew you were going to say that, Dave. I really did. Okay, so HOCO's on board with keeping the current Ferris wheel, right? Okay, let's get that going. All right. I wish them well with that. It's a good idea. Okay. All right. Now moving on. Kremlin said that Trump has offered to help end the Russia-Ukraine war. Apparently he had a conversation, nearly 90-minute phone conversation last weekend to discuss the war ahead of the NATO summit in Ankara.
Well, the pumpkin insisted that he could solve the war in Ukraine before he even got into office. So everybody says, okay, we'll give you a week. He didn't do it in a week. We'll give you a month. He didn't do it in a month. We'll give you 2 months. Didn't do it in 2 months. He tried to force Zelensky to surrender because Zelensky was the weak power and Trump was looking pretty bad. He couldn't bring peace. So he tried to force Zelensky to give up. Zelensky wasn't going to do that. And that's gone down in history as one of the most shameful things that ever happened in the White House when all those guys, Rubio, Vance, and Trump were ganging up on Vance and heckling him and said he didn't wear a suit. You're like, I mean, really, he's wearing army fatigues as a representation of what his people are going through. And the pumpkin says, you ain't got no suit on. That means something that is so shallow, so petty. But that's what we have from the administration, so far. Basically what's happened, right? So basically what's happening here is Trump could see no amount of problems that could keep coming from this war that he could not end. And so he's offered Russia a way out. Russia is bleeding both monetarily and as people are like dying in huge amounts. And right now the war is becoming closer and closer to the Russian people. So Putin's in a situation where he can't lose and he can't win.
Yep. Oh yeah. Right. He needs some outside. He needs somebody outside to help him in that war.
I think it might come down to a point where Russia is leased the east part of the Ukraine for 100 years or something like that. And let's put it this way. This is a signal to every country in the world. Ukraine had nuclear weapons. After the dissolution of the Soviet Union, Ukraine had nuclear weapons. It was guaranteed by the United States and Russia that if it gave up its nuclear weapons, its territorial integrity would be guarded by both of those nations.
Yeah.
Right? So when Russia could attack Ukraine when it did, because it knew it didn't have any nuclear weapons anymore. So it doesn't have to worry about nuclear a nuclear attack. If Ukraine had not given up its nuclear weapons, Russia would not have attacked.
Yeah.
And that is a message to all the world, all over the place. That's the message that North Korea heard. Look, I'm in danger if I don't get a nuclear weapon. Iran's looking at the same thing. They're in a situation where Israel has nuclear weapons, Pakistan has nuclear weapons, and so they're and of course the United States has nuclear weapons, right? Of course they're thinking, you know what? Maybe it's safer if we have a nuclear weapon. Unfortunately, the NATO really messed this up huge in Ukraine. It could have stopped this war from ever happening, and now it's just one big blood hole, mud and blood. And I don't even, I hope this thing comes to an end, but you have a situation where Putin would be in real trouble if he ends the war, because he has not gained what he said he was going to gain.
Yeah.
And that may make him vulnerable to his, to people vying for power inside Russia right now.
Well, the whole power vacuum within both Russia and, well, not vacuum, the whole power situation within both Russia and Ukraine is something that'll, whatever happens in this war, if it comes to an end, that's going to be up for grabs in both those countries.
Yeah, Putin has to be very careful, because if he doesn't win, his competitors will become bold enough to maybe overtake him. We don't know about that yet. Zelensky, on the other hand, Zelensky is coming across more and more as a hero, because he's facing up to the big monster. He's not only that, he's faced up to Trump. And you know, I mean, the American, they're using Zelensky's anti-drone, or at least Ukraine's anti-drone technology in the Gulf. The U.S. themselves aren't directly buying it, but the Gulf countries are using it to protect American soldiers as well as their own. So I don't know. I don't know why Trump was so against Zelensky from the very beginning. That's only because he thought he's the weakest guy, so I can push him around. I can't push Putin around, but I can push Zelensky around. Is North Korea still supplying manpower for that war? I'm not so sure. They lost a bunch of soldiers. The North Koreans lost a bunch of soldiers there. I don't think the North Koreans are supplying any more soldiers to Russia, because it's a waste of time. It's not like Russia's making any kind of advances, and they don't want to lose the soldiers at the rate that the Russians are. So I don't think North Korea is supplying them with too many more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. Okay. Anything else to be said about that? I don't know whether really Trump can come up with a plan. I'm wishing well on that, but I don't think he can.
Well, the one thing I didn't like Trump from the very beginning when he came out. I can understand the American people voting for him, because what alternatives they have, pretty much I would have plugged my nose and voted for Kamala, not really liking it that much, but knowing that she was not as bad, but not as bad as Trump. And that's what the Pope said too. Remember, like, he pretty much said, plug your nose and pick one. But the problem here is that, I don't know, Trump said that he was going to stop the war. He can't stop the war. And I don't know, maybe we can come to an end of it soon.
All right. Okay, so moving on, coming back local, Niagara Region is going to be conducting a $500,000 core services review with Ernst & Young Consultants. We talked about this last week, but we didn't have the details about it. Sweeping study responds to mounting taxpayer backlash from recent property tax hikes, including a 9.6% increase in 2025 and a massive $1.5 billion infrastructure gap that still exists. And they need to get to grips with this whole core services review.
Well, here we go for another study. Oh joy, oh joy. Another study to check out how we should utilize our funds in the region. But the big thing here, though, is what's off the table, what you can't you touch, what can't you question, is the police. That is not up for discussion.
Yeah.
Not at all. So already you've limited this review enormously. Yeah. So you can't touch the police. That's out of the question. You can backlash on anything else, but you can't backlash on the police. and the police take half. I don't know how much do the police take.
Significant. I'm sure it's half, but yeah, it's somewhere in that region. Yes.
Yeah, it was. I just had it here, and it.
I haven't added the totals up more recent. I haven't added the totals up, but it was somewhere in that region.
Yeah, it looks like about 40%.
Yeah.
Of the whole budget of the area here. It's not half, but it looks like about 40% to my. Yeah. And then you have all the other community services. You have the next one is community services. The next big one, it's a small fraction of the police. Niagara Regional Police is huge, but community service is only 1/3 as big as the police. The roads about 1/4 as big as the police. Public health about 1/4 as big as the police. So basically, they're allowing you to review everything but the police. And what is this going to do?
Yeah.
Right. So their drive for reform in Niagara hasn't been subtle. So pretty much the government is pushing for reform, pushing for more limited government, smaller government. But as we found out, no matter how small you get the government, I mean, we have huge amount of elected representatives, but they themselves don't cost the region that much money. As we found out before, you could eliminate half of them, and it's not going to save the region much money.
Yeah.
Right. Insignificant amount.
Yeah. Well, it's certainly not going to make up a $1.5 billion gap.
No.
I feel we're hard pushed to even make up a $0.5 billion gap. You know?
Yeah, here it is in a nutshell. Niagara isn't alone in the struggles. A 2024 pre-budget report to the provincial government by Association of Municipalities of Ontario painted a grim picture of municipal finances, concluded the funding system is no longer sustainable, and called for an overhaul of the provincial municipal physical relationship.
Yeah.
Here we go again, but that's like, I mean, how many times do we have to hear about stuff like this? And yet when we get a tax bill, it seems to be, oh, well, we couldn't help making it this much bigger than it was before because we don't know what to do. The AMO's report estimated municipalities subsidize these services by $4 billion annually, while also facing rising costs from inflation, population growth, aging infrastructure, and climate change. Of course, climate change, they always throw that one in there. The report said municipalities are limited to property taxes and user fees, blah, blah, blah. So basically what they're saying is there's going to come a point where you can't raise taxes anymore. Therefore, your service rates are going to go down. Pretty much what they're going to do is look over things that they can't let go, like water and police and water and services like that and roads and other things they might have to chop.
I'd say the water we can't let go of. That's absolutely for sure. I think we do need to have a basic review of police infrastructure.
Well,
and I said, hey, I'm the first person to say that one of the things that has to be happening within the police force is the adoption of cameras. Right, always on cameras must be available for the police.
Money, 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 money.
I know
that costs the taxpayer a lot more money.
I know that is money, but we're going to have to find some cuts in other areas.
Yeah, what are you going to do? Cut some more municipal services? Oh, well, we're going to have less roads because we need the cops to have more cameras, right?
We need to have our cops more
efficient. It. So we'll do that. Yes, you see where your problems are coming in there.
Our cops are not doing the work they're supposed to do. All right. At the end of the day, Niagara Regional Police are totally inefficient.
How do you know? How do you know? When I just the other day, I just passed by on Main Street in Summer. What have I seen there? Like I see every day, cops all over the place at Main and Summer.
I was at Main
right,
and
that's
Summer.
That's where all the homeless people are.
Yeah, I know. I was at Maine and Summer the other day. There weren't a single cop there, but there was hundreds of homeless. Or it seemed like hundreds of homeless.
Yeah, well, just hang around. They're probably there. The cops are probably there several times a day. I every Monday I have to go by there on my bingo route, and every Monday, any given Monday there'll be cops there. I was there yesterday. Cops was there. It's not an unusual sight.
Clearly, the time I went was an anomaly, right?
Yeah. So I mean, yeah. So there are either homeless people on the road there, or homeless people and the cops.
Well, somehow though we've got to figure out about the way that this budget has to be spent more effectively. The trouble is, a lot of it, you see, I would predict here right now that a lot of our $1.5 billion budget gap is because nobody knows how to run projects in the Niagara region.
I would say that's wrong. How do you come up with that?
Because I've met project managers who don't know a damn thing about what the fuck they're doing in public sector areas.
Okay. Well, how do you point them out?
I just need to talk to them for about 5 seconds to understand and ask them a few questions about how they manage their projects, and I can know whether they're good or bad at it.
Okay. Well,
14 years of project management, sir.
So, okay, well, I don't know. I believe you. So how do we fix that?
Ironically, you pay somebody like me to come and do a review, and I will basically I will lambast them where it needs to be done. And there's so much wastage in public spending. It bothers me a lot.
That's right back to Doge thing, right? We can go right back to the Doge thing, wasted government spending. What happened when somebody came in there and chopped the crap out of it? It was a complete disaster. When Musk and his boys went in there and chopped it up, complete and utter disaster. You can do the Doge thing, but you're going to have to do it over time, and you're going to have to pare it down a little bit at a time. Otherwise, you're going to have the same disaster that happened in Doge.
I know. But again, you get projects done, you do the projects right, and you don't get this kind of mess.
That's an easy thing to say, though. And we all say that we need to spend less money, waste less, and do things better, our projects better, and all this. But that same mantra is being spoken for 200 years, and it always comes down to the taxpayer, how much they were, and the waste of taxpayer money, and the inefficiencies of government. Over and over again, and yet we have elected officials in our own city and in the region who are earnestly trying to reduce the amount of taxes and try to improve the efficiency of government.
I've been debating in my own mind about the whole question about how we run these kind of things, and are the elected officials necessarily the best thing that we have here? It's been a whole thought process, I have to say, going through. Right, so imagine if our police force was upgraded to match the population's increase. The police would be most of the other costs would go to the city service. Well, that's road welfare, housing, all important. How much do mayors get paid to be on the regional council? Should they get paid for extra for this, as it's part of their job? Just consulting.
You know what? That's something I don't know. I would imagine there's some sort of stipend they get for being on the region. However, as it's been pointed out to us over and over again, when it was pointed out how many politicians we have 126 in the whole province just for our regional and municipal governments in the region, and they have 124 for all of Ontario.
We won't have 100.
But when they looked at how much, if you cut in half the amount of politicians we had it would make a minor difference in the amount of money. So it's not money. So it's not the amount of representation. Really, it is more how the money is spent. Of course, there is that argument. The more representation you have, the easier it is for the average person to approach a government official, because they'll know there are more politicians. So the question is, do we have more politicians that are easier to approach, or less that have become more aloof? And basically, the amount of politicians really only factor in here because they might slow things down. Too many chiefs, not enough Indians, sort of thing that they used to say. There might be too many opinions. But the problem here is the same old problem with how do you spend taxpayers' money most efficiently. And here we have this review, but the review cannot touch 40% of the budget, which is the police budget.
Yeah.
So if you can't review that and make efficiencies, and then you said, well, they also need cameras. So you want to add even more to the budget of the police because it makes the police better.
Let's put it this way: we need a plan to get the cameras in.
Well, it will cost a lot of money to do that, and that's one of the reasons why they haven't. In their words, one of the reasons why they haven't done that is because their budget is so huge, they don't want to expand that anymore. And I agree with you. I would definitely like to have officers with cameras. Definitely. We saw what happened in Minneapolis when those two people got killed. If it hadn't been for cameras around, they could have lied to us in any way possible about what happened there. But the cameras made it very clear that both of those people were killed unjustly.
Yeah. All right, and the irony here, of course, is it's not just the police carrying cameras around. How many people are carrying these things around nowadays, Dave? They're walking around downtown, and you damn well know the camera's on because it's pointing all the action. It's like, yes, I've got it facing Dave. I've got it facing Dave, right?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that happens to me all the time when I go to the mall or anything like that. Because I'm a bingo celebrity, and people are going to take pictures of me.
By the way, remember, we do not have a regional council come this October. So we would be down 42 elected people. That regional council will consist of 12 mayors and the provincially selected chair.
That's right. That's a good point. I remember reading about that this morning before I was on here too. Yeah, we are. Yeah, that's so it's going to be a mayor's only. Yeah. And what about that? We did elect these people to represent us. Are we going to get a good government with just mayors?
Yeah. All right. I think we have to call it quits at that, Dave.
Okay. I would like to remind everybody about Gaza again. Of course, Ukraine's a good example. Really, how Western democracies really mucked that up really bad by dangling the carrot of NATO membership to Ukraine and Georgia. What did the U.S. What did Russia do? The first thing it did was crush Georgia. So Georgia's out there saying, "Oh, good, we're going to be part of NATO." Russia walks in and crushes it. And what did the West do? Oh, sorry about that. And then they said, look, that's a step too far to make Ukraine part of NATO. That's too much of a threat to us. And what did the West say? Well, too bad about that, man. And guess who's paying the price for that? Is Ukraine. And seriously, I'm really serious about how the West conducts itself and the stupid ways in which it does. And now we got that situation, of course, in Gaza and the West, the democracies, the ideals, the ethical way of the Western democracies cannot stop Israel from crushing the people in Gaza, doing a massive genocide there, knocking down everybody's house in southern Lebanon, displacing over 1 million people, and then crushing their homes, make sure they don't have anything to come back to. I'm really, really upset about how Western democracies kind of forego their ethics really quick when it's hard to do anything. If it's too hard to stop the war, they don't. They look the other way. I mean, seriously, this thing in Gaza has been going on for a long, long time. And they killed at least 1,000 people since the so-called peace deal. And a lot of them are children and innocents. And they're still starving. You know, they still haven't got as much as they need. They still don't have, it's rubble. Like 82% or 82 or 83% of all the homes and buildings are being demolished by either bombs or bulldozers in Gaza. They've been pushed into even a smaller part. I would say that we are the democracies of the world. We are the people that do the voting for our democratic officials, and we got to demand better from ours. You can stop supplying Israel with weapons. Yes, that's the number one thing we can do. And Canada has stopped. But guess what? Canada will not supply Israel with any more weapons, but that didn't include the contracts that were already made. So there's a bit of a hypocrisy there, don't you think?
There is, yeah. And besides which, it doesn't stop Canada supplying weapons to the US that supply weapons to Israel.
Yes. So I don't know. It's a whole boundless amount of hypocrisy there. Yeah. And we cannot invite Israel into the family of nations the way they act. Absolutely not. They're not a democracy. They are an ethno-religious state for ethno-religious people. They talk about the religious aspect of Hamas or Hezbollah, but nobody talks about the religious aspect of Zionism and the settler movement. Mm-hmm. Look at the Bible and say, 3,000 years ago, God gave us this land, so here we are to pick it up again. Anyway, all right. Without further ado, I bid you pray for peace.
Yeah.